What's good, family? So mash the like button and subscribe. So, your man's Jermell Charlo has responded to Castano's call out. What we do know is my Argentinian bro Castano, he wanted all the smoke after the fight. Jermell Charlo gave it the typical, "Oh man, Al Heyman. I'm gonna speak to my team. I'm gonna speak to Al Heyman. He my team." That's what he was saying. Yeah, he didn't want none. "I'm a boss, but I better talk to Al Heyman." That's what he was giving after the fight. He didn't want none. Anyway, 2-2s. After the fan reaction, after the fans got on Jermell Charlo, all of a sudden, he's changed course and he's put a statement out. He said the following: "Brian Castano is one hell of a better fighter than anyone gave him credit for, and he came to fight for his life Saturday. If fights are scored as a whole, I landed the harder and better shots. But boxing isn't scored that way. Boxing is scored round by round. I've always said, to take a belt from a champion, you need to take that belt, and the judges felt neither of us did enough to take those belts, and they ruled a draw. I don't want to become undisputed by a narrow, controversial decision. I want to make a statement. I didn't do my part to get the KO, and as always, I will continue to learn and improve. When we run it back, just like I adjusted in the Harrison 2 fight, there will be no doubt about the result. Lions only." Now, I have to give credit to Charlo because, well, on a few bits. Let me read out the parts where I think I need to give credit to him for. Number 1, where he mentions that I've always said you need to take a belt from a champion. That's something I also stand by. You don't nick belts, in my opinion. You take the belt or you don't. Yeah? All of this, all that Floyd business, that don't cut it for me. That's why I believe, as much as I like Josh Taylor, I believe that should have been a draw. Yeah? Taylor versus, I forgot his name, but Taylor versus that next Don the other week for Undisputed, that should have been a draw. Ramirez, that's it. Taylor versus Ramirez should have been a draw. Why? Josh Taylor sacked off the last 3 or 4 rounds, just taking the piss, because he thought he was up. You don't become undisputed like that. You don't become undisputed just fannying around because Ben Davison told you you're up on points. That's how you lose a fight, in my opinion. He should have, in my opinion, really, he should have lost. At best, a draw, because he would have learnt a valuable lesson that day. Don't be a jackass. Don't take ish for granted. Fight to the end. Go for the KO. And again, I have to give credit to Charlo for that. Oh, I have to credit Charlo again, because not only did he say that you have to take the belt from a champion, he also said, I don't want to become undisputed by a narrow, controversial decision. I want to make a statement. I didn't do my part to get the KO. So, these are all things which I believe every fighter should have that attitude. Now, it is a shame, as I mentioned in my earlier video, my reaction video about Charlo, it's a shame that he always has this habit. And it's funny that he's actually saying this, because I said the same thing before he said it. I said that, what is it about this? The first fight, he doesn't go for it. He doesn't get stuck in. And then the second fight, all of a sudden, I don't care what no one says, that second Harrison fight, he came, he had vengeance in his hands. He weren't playing no games. But my whole thing is, why don't you treat every fight like that? Now, I understand the emotional element, in as much as it's a lot easier to be pumped up once you've lost. I get that, but the point is, you're supposed to have a team around you, or people in your team, who can get you into that mind state without having to lose. It's no good, even though he didn't lose this fight, it's no good having to lose a fight or draw a fight to be able to perform well, if that makes sense. You've got to work out what's in your mind and activate that ferociousness every time. And that's the bottom line here. That said though, At least, why I respect Charlo more than a lot of fighters today, at least he recognises that. Many fighters are in denial. Many fighters would have come out and said, Adrian Broner for example, many fighters would have come out and said, oh Mina, I won 10 rounds. I got cheated. So the fact he's come out and owned it and taken full responsibility, I didn't do enough to win. I didn't want to win by narrow decision anyway. I should have got the KO. That's what I love to hear. That's what every fighter should say. If you haven't got the job done convincingly... Now, don't get me wrong, some fighters do get it done convincingly, and they still get robbed. Even then, you've got a bit of a claim in that circumstance. But as far as taking responsibility goes, Charlo, yeah, I have to give him full credit on this occasion. Because very few fighters do that. Most fighters want to complain and moan and whine. And he hasn't done that here. So I tip my hat to him. Now, Castano, this fight should happen again, bottom line. I don't agree with everything Charlo said here. Charlo said that... Well, where was it? He said... Where was it? Oh, no one gave Brian Castano any credit. Now, again, this kind of feeds back in to the reason we're sitting here today. Or from Jermell Charlo's point of view, this is key to the reason we're sitting here today. Because he said at the start of his statement, oh, no one gave Castano any credit. I think what you mean to say is, you didn't give Castano any credit. Now, I'd be lying if I sat here and told you I know loads about Castano and I thought he was real good. I'd never seen him box before. That said, I wasn't fighting him. Yeah? Meaning that, guess what? If I was fighting him, I'd have liked to have known, or I'd like to think I'd know who I was coming up against. So this again is bad on your book, Charlo. No matter what, no, it's no good saying, oh, no one knew how good he was. Well, no one else was getting in the ring with him. That's your and your team's job to have him down pat. You didn't. Another thing, why is that? Why do you keep... I understand you can't always be perfect, but then again, that's not necessarily always true, because certain fighters, not every... I guess you can't win every fight, but you make it... I'm sorry, but you're making a habit of this. Yeah, you're making a habit of feeling you've undercooked things. You felt like you undercooked the Tony Harrison fight. You felt like you undercooked the Castano fight. It's one thing leaving it all in the ring and getting a draw. That's one thing. You're saying, I undercooked it. That says more about you. Number one, you undercooked it. Number one, you undercooked your own performance. Number two, you underestimated your opponent. These are all on you. And the way your career's going, if you don't nip it in the bud soon, you're going to be one of them dons who goes 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 draw. That's how it's looking right now, isn't it? You don't want to be that guy. You're going to end up 50 and 25 or something. Yeah? But again, life is learning. And as far as learning goes, I give you credit for that, because some fighters go their whole career and don't learn lessons. Adrian Broner. How long's Adrian Broner been saying, I'm going to let my hands go? That's one thing I have to give Charlo credit for again. Guess what? Charlo arguably didn't let his hands go in the Harrison fight. Guess what? He came back in and he was rock hard for Harrison. Harrison was giving it all that slick talk. Charlo went in there and handled his business. Again, look at the opposite. Broner. How many years have we been sitting there waiting to see Broner let his hands go after Maidana knocked the hands out of him? Maidana hit Broner so hard, he ain't never thrown his hands since. Maidana knocked the hands out of Adrian Broner. Yeah? Knocked the hands out of him. Ain't no one seen him throw no hands since Maidana clocked him right on the side of his head. I've heard from Adrian Broner's physician that Maidana just knocked some of the wiring out. Broner's been boxing for 30 years, but Maidana hit him in such a particular place, he kind of scrambled that part of the brain. He just forgot how to let his hands go. He can only pot shot now. Yeah? Maidana knocked the fear of God into him. But anyway, the reason I bring Broner up is to say that, look at Broner. That's someone you don't want to be. Don't no one want to be Broner, the man who always going to do it next time. Don't be that guy. Oh, or yeah, better yet, Broner actually is a good example here, because not only is he always promising next time, also when he loses, he'll try and convince you he won. He's to this day he says he beat Pacquiao for the hood. Yeah, today he says he beat Pacquiao for the hood. Yeah, he's delusional. Every time he promises to let his hands go, every time he doesn't. Every time he loses, he says he won. Fully delusional. Never takes no responsibility. Always on. He's always on the. What's the word? He's always hoping, promising, never delivering. So I just thought it was important to contrast the two individuals there, because for so far so good from Charlo. He just needs to get the consistency down and not have to keep losing to pull it off. But anyway, do I want to see this fight? Why not? There's nothing else going on in that division, is there? Truth be known, what else is going on? It's not like there's a whole lot of fights that need to be going on. Who will win? Let's see. Because one thing Charlo potentially hasn't considered is that there's nothing to say Castano didn't have more in the bag. And that's why I like certain rematches. That's why I'm looking forward to Teofimo versus Lopez. Sorry, Lopez versus Lomachenko. Why? Because I feel potentially, well, I know Lomachenko has more in the tank, but potentially so does Lopez. I like two fights rematching when I feel at least one of them, but ideally two of them potentially have more in the bag. And finally, before I end the video, he said that he felt he scored the cleaner work, the cleaner, harder work. I don't know about that. When Castano had you hitting a nay-nay, yeah, there's nothing cleaner than seeing some Nick Donny hit the nay-nay. Yeah, you was hitting the nay-nay. So, again, I don't know about you, man, but when I see some next man hit the nay-nay, yeah, if that's not clean, I don't know what is clean. Because, in my experience, men don't start nay-naying for nothing. Anyway, I mean, ask Andy Ruiz when he was in there with Areola. When Andy Ruiz was in there with Areola, he didn't do the nay-nay for nothing. Yeah, and you best believe Charlo was nay-naying. So, and listen, like I said, God's honest truth, I didn't see Castano nay-naying. So wait there a minute, you was nay-naying, Castano wasn't, but you was the one with the cleaner work. Don't know about that, yeah? So, either way, let's let the rematch play out. How about that? Let's let the rematch play out. Now there is a level of controversy. Apparently, Castano might not be able to do it, or might be moving division. I'm not sure, but it should happen next. I think it should happen because Castano wanted it. I'm sure I saw his post-fight interview, and he said he was rock hard for Charlo, and Charlo was giving it Al Heyman. Al Heyman, and giving it all that kind of talk. But I'm glad that he's finally came to and realised what needs to be done. Handle your business.